You know that feeling, right? It's the end of a long day and your brain just checks out. It's not just tired, it feels like a full-on system overload. We all call it burnout, and yeah, we've all been there.
I mean, really, that feeling of being totally mentally fried after hours of staring at a screen, making tough calls, or just drowning in emails, your brain feels like a spent battery. The idea of doing one more thing that requires thinking, it's just impossible.
So what do we do? What's our go-to fix? For pretty much all of us, it's a straight shot to the couch, right? You grab the remote and you're ready to just zone out. It feels like the right move, like you're giving your brain the break it's begging for.
But here's a question. What if our gut instinct is just wrong? What if crashing on the couch and binging a show isn't actually the best way to recharge our mental batteries? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into right now.
Okay, so let's get into the science of it, because a group of researchers at a German sport university decided to put our favorite recovery habits under the microscope. They set up this really cool experiment to figure out what actually works when you're trying to bounce back from being mentally exhausted.
And what I love about this study is how clever the design is. It's basically a two-step process. First, make people mentally tired on purpose, and then test out different ways to help them recover. Simple as that.
So, how do you wear out someone's brain? Well, you have them do 60 straight minutes of really demanding brain games. I'm talking about things like continuous attention tasks, tricky memory games, and that classic Stroop test. You know, the one with the colors. The whole point was to completely drain their mental fuel tank.
So after that intense brain workout, they split the 99 participants into 3 different teams for a 30-minute recovery break. You had Team Cycle, who hopped on an exercise bike for some moderate cardio. Then you had Team Sitcom, who got to kick back and watch an episode of The Big Bang Theory. And finally, Team Stretch, who did some simple foam rolling and stretching, kind of like an active control group.
All right, the stage is set. 3 teams, 3 different ways to recover. So, who won? Which method was the true champion of mental recovery? Well, the results were actually surprisingly clear.
Let's focus on one really important mental skill, cognitive flexibility. This is basically your brain's ability to switch gears and think on its feet. Now, in these charts, a lower bar actually means a better, faster performance. And as you're about to see, one of these groups just blew the others away. And boom, this chart says it all. The exercise group. They recovered their cognitive flexibility way better than the other two. Sure, watching a sitcom helped a little bit, but Team Cycle was the undisputed winner when it came to getting their brains back online.
And the researchers themselves summed it up perfectly. A single, short session of cardio doesn't just make you feel better, it actually helps regenerate your brain's performance after you've been doing a ton of intense mental work.
Okay, so now we know what works, but the really interesting part is understanding why. I mean, why would moving your body be a better fix for a tired brain than just letting it rest? The answer, it turns out, is all about what mental fatigue actually is.
You see, scientists make this really important distinction between the fatigue you feel in your muscles and something they call central fatigue. Central fatigue has nothing to do with your muscles being tired. It's a signal coming directly from your brain and your central nervous system, pretty much telling your whole system to just stop.
And that brain signal, it's not just one simple thing. It's actually a combination of 3 different feelings all rolled into one. There's the physical fatigue, where every little task feels like climbing a mountain, mental fatigue, where you just can't focus, and a real lack of motivation, that deep, I just don't want a feeling.
It's also super important to tell the difference between healthy, normal fatigue and what's called pathological fatigue. The healthy kind is like a useful warning light on your dashboard. You work hard, you feel tired, you rest, you feel better. Simple. But pathological fatigue, that's different. It's way out of proportion to what you've actually done, and rest doesn't fix it. It's less like a warning light and more like a system error.
So what's causing this system error? What is actually happening inside our brains when we feel that deep, unshakable fatigue? Well, it turns out a big clue might be inflammation.
Yeah, a lot of research now suggests that low-grade inflammation in your body can send signals to your brain that literally change how it operates. We're not talking about a swollen ankle here, but these subtle chemical messages that can mess with the very brain circuits that control our energy, our motivation, and how much effort things feel like they take.
And it seems like these inflammatory signals hijack 3 key parts of the brain. First, you've got the basal ganglia. That's our motivation center. Inflammation can mess with its reward math, making any effort feel like it's just not worth it. Then there's the anterior cingulate cortex, which acts like our effort monitor. Inflammation can make it think we're working way harder than we are, so everything feels more difficult.
And finally, the insula, which is our body awareness hub. Inflammation can turn up its volume, making us feel every tiny signal of tiredness way more intense.
So when you put it all together, inflammation can sabotage our brain's reward system, its effort meter, and its body awareness system all at the same time. This creates the perfect storm for feeling unmotivated, mentally overloaded, and physically wiped out. And that, right there, is the neurobiology of burnout.
And this brings us right back to the beginning. This is why exercise worked so much better than watching TV in that German study. Moderate exercise is an incredibly powerful tool that can help regulate inflammation and actually fine-tune the very brain systems we were just talking about. It's not just a distraction, it's a direct biological fix.
So now that we have all this information, we can be way smarter about how we recover from mental burnout. It's all about taking a better, more effective break.
So let's just quickly recap the big takeaways. First, that feeling of being mentally fried, it's a real biological state happening in your brain, and it's often tied to inflammation. Second, the science is really clear. Active recovery, like a short walk or a bike ride, is way better than just passive rest when it comes to getting your mental sharpness back. And finally, just understanding that fatigue is a signal from your brain, not some kind of personal failure, gives you the power to respond to it in a much better way.
So the next time you feel that burnout starting to creep in and you hear the couch calling your name, just remember this. Your brain isn't just asking you for a break, it's asking for the right kind of break. So the real question is, how are you going to answer?